So we're not going to adjourn. We're going to move on, and we'll come back to that. All right, thank you, Lynette. We'll take the report as read, and I understand there has been a number of questions on the from Councillor Johansson on the lighting, LED lighting. So I'd like to give him an opportunity to ask you the questions, and then staff can respond, and then we'll just see where we go to from there. So Yanni, do you want to ask your questions, please?
Thank you. So I was just really concerned at the installation of the LED lights ahead of the research being complete. I understand it was a 3-year program with NIWA, Council, MB, NZ. Oh, sorry, not MB. It was MB, University of Canterbury, Christchurch City Council, NZTA, and LINZ, and that research has been going on for nearly 3 years, and it was looking at the LED conversion and also the in the red zone. So I just wanted to find out like what's happening with that research. When is it going to be reported back to us, and what could we do in the meantime to not mean that we'd have to go back after the research comes out, given that we've seen both Dunedin and Hamilton go to a lower light level for LEDs? So how can we minimise the risk of having to go and reinstall LED lights of a lower level?
Jeff here is going to talk to that. Can I just provide some clarity to the committee? We're not talking about light levels, we're talking about light colour.
Yeah.
So they're different things, so please make sure we try and keep that clear. Okay. There's light colour, there's light levels, they're all different factors in this. And the designs that we do are holistic, and they look at everything. We are not and have not started installation in big significant areas like Birdlings Flat where there is no light. Jeff will talk through the process that we've gone through and where we've got to, but also in how we manage the research. What did you say to me before? When we look at light and this, when we've got significant areas, the best thing to do is not to have light. So we haven't got light, and we're not planning to have light in the red zone. We're taking them out. But we need light on our roads for road safety reasons. The next factor we can do is to reduce the amount of light, the light levels, reduce it down as much as we can. Hence, we've installed controllers and made sure that we change the light levels when they don't need to be as high for usage. The third thing is colour, which is about your Kelvin, 3,000 versus 4,000 versus others. Okay, so it's very complex. I've learned a lot about light over the last couple of years that I didn't know I needed to know. And we'll move on with that. But so as far as the research goes, firstly, I just want to highlight, please remember we signed off the business case in 2017 to accelerate the delivery of this, and it was a real step change that staff and our contractors stepped up to leverage the big subsidy that we could get from NZTA. At the time, we made the best decisions that we could at the time, and we've maintained consistency with that. I understand the concerns raised, and Jeff will talk to that. So that business case has been signed off. We have worked with NIWA, and we are working with them. My understanding is they've finished their research, but they are still finalising their report, and we don't have it at the moment. When we do have it, we will review it in the Christchurch context, and we will provide you some advice and the report when we have a chance to do that.
Just before can we just get clarity too around what approach we're taking around urban waterways as well in terms of installation of the LEDs, in terms of the colour? Thanks.
All the roads that have been lit to date have 4,000 Kelvin lights in them. The NIWA project is funded by MB and is a 3-year project, so that's due to terminate shortly, which is the reason why they're pulling the information together. I have had some discussions with the researcher, and I was pretty keen early on to make sure that we weren't doing any damage or likely issues, and I haven't seen the latest data, and I don't want to, jump ahead, but the indications are that there's the 4,000 Kelvin LED is no worse than the HPS that was there before, and they will go through that. But the with the high pressure sodium, it used to scatter light far and wide. The LEDs are much more concise, and for a residential street, we used to use about 6,500 lumen lamp to light a street, and to light it to the same level with LED, we use 2,200 lumens. So it's almost a third difference. We can light with less light with a white light source. So that's been pretty fundamental in the business case, and the business case when we did it was pretty tight on getting it over the line, and at that stage 3,000K was less efficient. It's still less efficient when we last looked at it, and we've looked at it at each time we've gone through that. So that's sort of where the focus is. We've tried to deliver the energy savings. We're saving $1.5 million a year. Had we delayed those savings, those OPEX savings would be delayed for the number of years we delay. And it's NZTA have said the higher level of funding is not available after the 30th of June that's just passed. So even with a global pandemic that held up supply of product, they would not allow any carryover of that, so that it's being funded at the lower rate. So that would have put, the higher level of, NZTA have contributed about 21 million to this project, and about 8.5 million of that is at that higher funding level. So that would have been lost had we not proceeded. So I think in areas where there's a potential issue or concern, if there was a particular species we're trying to protect, and that's the big issue, is we have to hone in on what the species is, because not all the insects are attracted to the same colour temperature of light. That varies. So we need to understand what we're protecting, and then we can look at the light levels. But as Lynette said, we've tried to contain the light within the road environment, and we have had some feedback that people, when they look out their windows, it looks dark because the house on the other side of the road is no longer lit up, and things like that. So we're confining it to the space we need. There's less light spilling into the rivers that are adjacent to the waterways, and we're also dimming in the early hours of the morning to try and reduce the amount of light in the environment when there's low use in the road space.
So all of our road upgrades have been upgraded in line with the business case that was agreed. And I do point you to the pictures in the report, which show sort of a before and after. So with the city at night with high pressure sodium is the 2019 photo, and the city at night with much more of it is LED. It looks quite different.
And
So
a lot of that light is coming from buildings other than street lights. I don't think any of those are street lights, because as soon as you're up above them, all the light's going down, and you see no light.
So there's been it's been a mixed process of trying to put the light where we need it and not anywhere else. And the light colour is only one factor of it.
With the controller, because I understand we have a controller where we can dim them.
Yes.
We can change the level, but not the colour.
The colour is
set.
The colour's set.
In the future, they may do colour. For buildings, they're looking at what they call tunable white, so you can have different coloured whites, and they're doing that particularly around circadian rhythms and things like that. Now, in a building, there's way more light. We're talking about a residential street. We've got an average of less than 1.3 with a minimum of less than 0.5 lux. So it's very low level light, and that's where the eye is more sensitive to a white light source than a yellow light source.
So just so I'm clear, so we get the research. If it shows that there's an impact along our urban waterways, the ability for us to go back and retrofit and change the the colour
The light, yeah.
is we have that ability and we have funding to do that, or are there areas that we are currently got scheduled for conversion that we could delay along our waterways, urban waterways in particular, until that research is complete?
I think I think it's a matter of waiting until the research comes out. I don't think it's going to be an issue. Initially they started testing in the red zone and they had to move away because they couldn't get any. They weren't trapping any insects of the types that they were looking for. So it's the urban waterways also have the houses on the other side with lights and things like that. So and there are various current colours. So it's their latest research has been in Kaituna Valley area, which is really dark environment, to try and do the trapping. So I think that when we get a list back and they've made their conclusions and their recommendations, we can go. If there was a particular area where there was a vulnerable species, it would be a matter of going back and changing the lights. Those lights could be reused somewhere else, but there would be a cost, and that's not something we budgeted for. But if it was a big enough issue, then we could try and accommodate that. But as far as the red zone is an area, I think. Well, I'm a transport person. I shouldn't be talking on behalf of parks, but I think it's an area that should be kept dark and similar to Bottle Lake is used at night by mountain bikers, and they take their own lights. We don't light it for them. So if there's an opportunity to keep it dark as a dark sky environment, then an area people can go and observe the night sky. It's a good option.
I would like to take a quick opportunity to point out to the committee that Jeff and the team that have worked on this are very concerned about ensuring that our environmental impact is minimised, and they have taken this into account. We are currently still in conversations with the community at Birdlings Flat as to what the right thing to do is out there and what they as a community want. So we haven't just blindly bowled into this. There's been a lot of work done to ensure we do the right thing.
And one of the options out there is to remove the lights.
Yeah.
Just a final bit of feedback is obviously there'll be a lot of interest in the study when it's released. Maybe we could think about just having a public presentation and having it presented back to us as soon as we can.
We can do that as soon as we can.
Thank you, Yanni. I've got a mover from Phil and Tim seconded. Is there any more questions
On the report.
Yes, Jimmy.
One question regarding to the 170 project. Those one, how many project is in relation to the cycling safety and access? Also, because the community concern, at the moment, particular in the community board meeting, they concern we have a kind of traffic improvement regarding to the Wigan and also Hayton, the street intersection. However, they short of access for the cyclist from Wigan to the Napuna Way, this section. So they would like to know whether have any to have at least a cycling the connection between this section.
Between Wigram Road and Napuna Way.
Yes.
I can't answer that here, so I'll have to take that one offline. Sorry.
Yeah, it's possible. Also, community board, make recommendations whether it's possible for the high priority. Otherwise, this facility they cannot access. Actually, just a particular concern.
So if it's a community board priority, it should have come through the annual plan process.
No, they put into the as the one paragraph.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Pauline?
If I may, just on the 15-minute.
Are you giving me an option to say yes or no?
You're safe there.
Is it? We're discussing the report.
Yeah, you asked if you could.
It's a dead job.
Sorry.
Is it?
Yeah, you missed it. It just went over your head.
Just ask.
No, I'm just being clear. I thought we might have switched back to the other report.
Well, then that's what their jobs are.
I just asked Jake if he could write it down for me. Just wondering why it's on page 60, defining access as the possibility of reaching 5 specified basic services. So you've got employment, food, shopping, education, medical needs, open spaces. What about recreation facilities? Would we expect to see them in there? Not major metro ones, but perhaps smaller ones like local gyms and...
So basically, when we defined the number of services, the basic services for the 15-minute city, one of the services was open spaces that could include those sort of facilities as well. The thing is, we can have as many as services as we want, but we need to be sort of more concise on what we actually want to tackle and what's actually covering or catering, accommodating the most number of trips that we, like a usual, like an average Christchurch residence makes on a certain day. So yeah, I appreciate a lot of those trips are not really, these are the broad brushes, so like broad brush categories of services that are different trips that we make on a daily basis. There are so many different trip purposes that we can identify, but they don't stack up in terms of numbers compared to these ones that we've selected. And these are all informed by the household travel surveys, which was lastly done in 2000, I think, somewhere around 6 or 7.
But just because it's not listed here, if there was a local recreation facility like a small local gym, that would be encouraged to fit in with the policy of 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's all I wanted.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, I'll open it up for debates. Okay, it's been moved. Okay, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We'll go back to item 11. I've been informed that the amendment is out of order, and although I don't think Councillor McDonald agrees with it, he accepts